First off, I want you, if you haven't looked at the answers, to make sure that you kind of get an idea that there were many steps in a lot of these. The first three, when you looked at the first three, you really only had one step. So you did not, in 1, 2, and 3, really have to draw that new one. Because from the first thing that you said rotated, it should have ended up on that. That translation, in number 3, going over the x-axis and then possibly translating it just a little, 2 to the, going 2 down from where it was. But besides that, they were pretty much on. So starting with 4 on, these ones you really needed to draw that second figure, like what did it look like? So what I like to say is to draw the second one to match it up. Now you don't have to draw the whole thing, but you do want to have a pretty good idea so that when I'm looking at number 5, and I look at this one and I think, oh, if I'm going to do this one, maybe I'm going to rotate it down first, and then I could reflect it. And they said, number 5, that they reflected it first over the y-axis and then rotated it. So is there more than one way of doing that? That's the first thing I want you to be aware of. If you were looking at this one, you could have rotated it first this way, which would be counterclockwise, right? And if you would have done that and you would have rotated it, you would have had something kind of like this. So you would have had something kind of like this, right? And then you would have reflected it over. Is that okay instead of doing it the way they said? That they said reflected over the y and then, yes. But I kind of need to see where this picture is of what you did. So for the question in number 10, and number 10 does have a few more. First off, you kind of want to make sure what side AB matches up with on this triangle. So if I was going to say triangle ABC is similar to triangle, and if I start at A and I go to B, I notice that this is 2 by 2 here. So I need everyone looking up here. So when I look from A to B, this is 2 by 2. So which side has to be the same as A to B on that other figure? Am I talking about DE or EF? D to E. So if I start at A and go to B, here I'm going to start at D and go to E. So D, E, F, right? So when I look at these two pictures, this side is the same length as this. Now, that's key to what I'm going to be doing, because some people were thinking, oh, I could rotate it clockwise. But if I rotate it clockwise, this point is going to be, this AB is going to be up here, and I kind of want it down. So instead of going clockwise, we are actually going to go 90 degrees counterclockwise. Okay? So in number 10, one of the things I would do is at least 2 of the points. I think it helps for 3 of them, but at least on your picture, I should see 2 of them. So right now on your paper, I want you to write down the ordered pair for A and B. Even if you totally had this done, I want you to write these down anyway. Right below number 10, or right by number 10, somewhere in the side, like some of you have space over here, put down where point A and B are. And if we are going to do a 90-degree counterclockwise, that changes the XY, Greta, to what if it's 90 counterclockwise? Negative YX. So please right now, look at your picture in number 10 and tell me where point A is located and point B. Write it on your paper first. Write down in number 10, point A is located over at like -4, is it 1? Does that sound right? Yeah. -4, 1.
You cannot tell where the X and the Y are.
Yeah. So, you kind of can't see where the X and Y are. Here's my hint. They have a little Y by it, and you might want to make this line a little bolder. That is your Y and X. So I take your pencil over it and make that a little darker line, because that is your Y and X axis, okay? So, -4, 1. Sammy, where do you have B located? -3. Or negative.
I think
-2, 3. I think -2, 3.
I'm sorry, I don't know where.
That's okay. negative 2, 3. So using our new rule, now where would A prime be? If I'm going to use 90 clockwise, going this way.
-1, -4.
-1, -4. And if I was looking at B prime, Noah, I'd be at -3, -2. So let's see if this gets us closer. So AB, we're going to go to -1, 4, -4. This is going to be my new point A prime. And -3, -2. Now, it looks like this should kind of match up, and then that C should kind of be here. And without even drawing that, I can kind of put that in, and C should be over here, like this, okay? So even without drawing that, I can kind of get a pretty good idea. Even if I don't put exactly where point C is. Some of you like to put all 3 points. That's awesome, do that. But at this point, it looks like someone said, oh, now you can just reflect it over. But when you do the reflection, it doesn't match up exactly. It fits here. It's kind of something like this. It doesn't quite match up. So I agree, this is my first step, 90 clockwise. And that was my first thing that I did. And then the second thing is to reflect it over the y-axis. But then I have to move it one more time, and it was 1 to the right. So it has to match up exactly to that to get it on. And I am okay if you only draw, like I said, 2 of the points to help you figure out where it is. And if it helps you to put all 3 of them, put all 3 of them, okay? But that's kind of what I need to see. So when I was looking at number 8, I would probably want to see, in this one, if you said rotate it 90 counterclockwise, I'd probably want to see that, oh, this was your first picture, and then, oh, then we moved it down, right? Then I had to move it to the left and down or something like that. But I should see that first picture drawn. Does that make sense? I've had people that handed theirs in, and for 1, 2, and 3, I didn't need to see that, but for the rest of them I did. You don't get full credit if you didn't draw it. Why? I gave you the answers. This is all in the back, right? So all you really had to do was turn to the back and copy it down and look at it and write that and not show anything. So I need to see a little bit of something of how you're doing it, okay?
You just had like 1 point.
I'd probably take 1 point, but it should be labeled then in all 3 movements or all 2 movements, right? So like A prime, okay? So I'll take a look at it, but I want to make sure that you're kind of understanding these and getting it to work. All right, so towards the end of the period, we're going to hand this in. 14. The difference between 14 and 13 is that now we're dealing with similar figures. So the first thing I want you to take a look at. If I look at point B is located where? 1, 1. B prime is located 2, 2. It says, what is the scale factor for the dilation? Meaning, what is K going to be in this one? If I go from 1, 1 to 2, 2, it looks like K should be 2. Remember, if we talk about a dilation, a lot of times we might just say K equals 2. You'll see that. Or you'll see them write it this way, 2x, comma, 2y. Most of the time, they just say dilation with scale factor K equals 2. Okay? How do you determine it? You check by looking at 2 of the ordered pairs. This was one that a lot of you missed on the quiz. What does the dilation do? It makes it larger and it moves it farther. When you get 2, it moves it farther from the origin, right? So that's what we were looking at. They're still similar figures, but it moves it farther away anytime you have a scale factor larger than 1. All right. On the next page, on the top, not on the next page, on the next part down, if you would look at reading. So, Ariana, want to read for us? Similar polygons.
Similar polygons have the same shape, but they cannot be the same size. The symbol squiggle means is similar to.
Keep going.
Congruent polygons have the same shape and corresponding sides are the same.
And that simple.
means is congruent.
So you're going to be asked each time to tell me if it's congruent or similar. If we continue reading, Haley, would you please read in a sequence?
In a sequence of transformations, reflections, and rotations, the distance and angle measures stay the same, so the image is congruent to the original figure.
Keep going.
Two figures are congruent if there is a sequence of transformations not including dimensions on the map. One figure on two diagrams.
Brooke, continue if you would, in a sequence.
In a sequence of transformations, reflections, and rotations that also include dilations, only the angle measures stay the same since the figure is enlarged or reduced. In these cases, the image is similar to the other figure.
So sometimes we are going to be looking at what is like the scale factor. We're going to look at how much bigger or smaller. Anytime you do a scale factor, it's going to be similar. Whereas if you have no scale factor, it's going to be smaller. The other thing on this one thing you can notice that the side length down here is 1 and this one is 2. So what is our scale? We could say, oh, I'm taking this side times 2 to get the length of this one. So that's the other way of coming up with that k equals 2. All right, so as we look at this next one, what you are going to be asked to do, it says what sequence is a transformation map from ABC to DEF? First off, would you say these are similar or congruent? ABC, please write, is similar to triangle DEF. Now, some of your homework will tell you to go from ABC to DEF, and then there's other ones like starting halfway through the assignment where they don't tell you. Okay? One of my suggestions is I think dilations are the thing to do first. But sometimes some people prefer to do one of our other transformations first. So I just want to show you both ways. If we are looking at this one, and I'm looking at point A to B to E, if I look at where point B is, right? So let's list point B down below. B is located at, and then put C. Be ready if I call on you to tell me where these 2 points. We're not going to do all of them. We're just going to do B and C, right? And B and C should end up matching up to, we think, EF, right? BC, that segment matches up to EF. So, if I'm looking, Kennedy, where'd you have B located? -4, -2. Robin, how about C?
-1.
Careful, how about -2?
Yeah, -2.
5 or 6?
Pretty sure. 5.
Okay? So, if we are looking at this and we are thinking size change, what does it look like happening? What do you think our K is? A dilation of what? What do you think? Half? A third? We're at -4, -2, and I want you to look at where point E ends up. Point E ends up at -2, -1. So in relation to here, if I was going to find B prime, if I do a dilation, Sammy, we're thinking half. Could you put 0.5? Same thing I would take. So put dilation of 0.5. Let's do that with each of our new points B and C. Hang on, Sammy, we'll get to you. So -2, -1, right? -2, -1, that's going to be my new point B prime. And my new point C prime is going to be at, if I was looking at that, what would I have, Devin? Negative. Yes. So I go to -1, -2.5. So if I'm looking at that, does it look like now I can map these on? Even if I don't do A, like A is going to be over here, should I be able to, if I was looking at this, find where this is going to map? What would be my next transformation? Talk to your shoulder partner right now. What do you think the next thing we have to do to get to this red one to up here? Rotation, translation, reflection. Which one are we looking at? Did you guys talk? The 3 of you? Please talk. I heard some different things. Please talk, make sure you agree. Could it be a rotation? Which one makes the most sense? That flipping it over, right? Could we just flip it over and say that we are going to reflect it over what? Over the x-axis. Reflect it over the x-axis if I'm looking at that. So when I look at these pictures and I'm trying to decide, one of the key things that I'm going to be looking at is, does it match up? And if I would do that one, both B and C should match up with E and F as I am looking at that one, right? So the key thing is to make sure that you are looking at those. Are there other ways to do this? Definitely, okay? I just want you to be aware that some people might have reflected it first and then did that dilation. That works always, okay, also. There's a few other ways. I want to get you so that we can get to your homework. Notice in this one it says PQR to STU. So, do they look similar or congruent if we were looking at them? Jordan, what do you think? Similar or congruent? Similar. Similar. I'm going to have you go back to the other one, okay? So, we are going to have triangle PQR similar to triangle STU. I want you to try and write down what you think there's possibly two dilations that we could look at. And the order could be mixed up. So I don't care if you like doing your dilation first and then a transformation, or transformation first and then a dilation. But kind of think, what do you think the two things are that are going to map these two together? Okay? Talk to your shoulder partner and see if you agree. Daisy, one of them that you guys said. What did you guys go with first? She said if we're going to start this off, we want to rotate it 180. Anyone else have rotate 180? If I didn't want rotate 180, I had some people tell me reflect, which is more work. Reflect over the x-axis and then reflect over the y. That's the same, right? And I would take that on the quiz or on the test for this unit. I would take that if you said reflect over the x and reflect over the y-axis. It's a lot more work. You could just do this, right? The order here doesn't matter. After we did that, Greta, what did you and Bergen come up with for the next thing? If we do reflect it down here. So point P is here. Then we have to dilate. Did anyone do dilate first? Okay, you could definitely do dilate first. K equals 2, right? So if you are looking at these, I just kind of want you to be aware that you could do it either way. So when you do it, whichever way you do it, this one showed that same way, 180 from the origin, then a scale factor 2. Or reflect over x, reflect over y, then do scale factor 2. I think on the video that I put up, I did scale factor 2 first, and then I did the rotation, okay? As you are taking a look at this one, first question, are these two triangles similar? Elizabeth, what would you say? Yes. So if we say yes, we need to tell which triangle. So we're going to start with, if we start with A, B, C, similar to triangle, what's in the same spot as A? R. Now notice that B is not the right angle, C is the right angle, so we have to go R to which letter? S or T? S and then T, okay? So order is very important. It now asks you to write the sequence to match these up. Now, I can look right away and I can think, oh, what if I reflected? Now, I can't reflect over the Y, right? That doesn't help me. Just even drawing this, that doesn't help me, right? I know that's not going to work, okay? So, could I reflect it down? Yes. I might want to do a size change first. Okay? I notice that this is 1, this is 2, this is 2, this is 4. So maybe I want to do my dilation right away and go dilation first. After I do that, I notice that C has to be over 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is my dilation of 2, right? I don't even have to draw the whole thing, but this one's pretty easy to draw because it's a right triangle. So I'm going to draw that dilation. That's my new one. This is my A prime, right? This is my B prime. Do I have to list the points? Some of you, it works better to list them. Others, you can look at this. If I'm now going to do this, dilation of 2, now we need to do what, Robin? What's my next step? If I want to get it down here, probably. I can reflect it over the x. So my second step is going to be reflect over x-axis. If I reflect it over the x-axis, I notice this is 2 away, so I'm going to go down 2. This is, right? This one has 3 steps. Sophie, what's my last step? Translated how?
To the left 7.
So left 7. If I'm writing it in my rules like we almost always do, I could write it as x minus 7, right? Y. Trying to think if this one had a different way that I had covered up here, if it's the same. I think this is the same way. Yep, they did it the same as I did. So showing those pictures along the way is going to be helpful for me to know that you kind of did that, okay? These two. The first question says, are they similar? What do you think? Do they look similar?
Yes.
Yeah. Again, since there's 4 letters, we're going to just put the 4 letters. Some of you had that question. Do I put all 4 letters? A, B, C, D. Similar to. Where do I have to start on the next one? What's in the same spot as A, B? J. So J to K to L to M. Now, this is where your homework, it just depends which one you think is the first. Now, usually, mathematically, we always think the ABC is the first one and the letter later in the alphabet is the second one. But I'm okay if you do it either way. You just need to tell me, I'm starting and going from ABC to JKL. I'm either going this way, right, or you're going this way. It's different rules each time you do it, right? So if I'm looking at it, I'm going to go from the ABC. So the one that I'm going to do, I'm going to show you. I'm going to go ABC first. This is going to be my number 1, and I'm trying to get down here. So one of the first things I notice is that it looks smaller. So since it is smaller, I might start with dilating. Now, if I start with dilating, I need to think of, it's usually dilations are either 2 or 3 times or half or 1/3. Okay, it's usually nothing else other than those 2. So I'm going to dilate, like I usually won't say dilate at 1.5 for you, okay, on these problems. So we're going to dilate it. It looks like K equals 0.5 or a half, okay? So let's do that with point A. It was at 1, 3. Well, if that was at 1, 3, it's now going to be at a half, right? And if it was up 3, it's going to be at 1.5. That's my A prime. Does that make sense kind of for where this one is? It's in the middle, right? So that kind of makes sense. B was at 2, 4. So it's going to be at 1, 2. Here's my B prime, right? And I can kind of go, oh, well, then this one's probably going to be right here, right? And L, if I was looking at it, is 4, 3. So 2, right? So that kind of matches up for where C is, okay? So I want to draw that picture. Once I've drawn that one, what does it look like I have to do? What do you think, Malcolm? What's my next step on that one? Because I have it facing this way with the kite, and I need to turn it and get it this way.
Rotate it 90 degrees clockwise.
Rotate 90 degrees clockwise. So I look at this point A prime that I have, and A prime was actually located, we said, at 1/2, right? 0.5 and 1.5. B prime was located at 1, 2. It might be easier to go with the B prime, right, than the A prime. So if I am doing that, going clockwise, what does my rule tell me? X, Y changes how? What would you tell us, Ariane?
Y negative X.
Y and negative X. So I'm looking at my points and I'm thinking, oh, where would B prime be? B prime would need to, my B double prime would need to be at Y negative X. So it would need to be at 2, negative 1. 2, negative 1. Oh, it's so close, right? I need to get it here. This is my B double prime. I'm trying to get, change color here for you. I'm trying to get this point to be the same as K. I'm almost there, right? So I have this rule. What's my third one going to be then?
Translate.
Now I need to translate it, right? How do I translate that point? I move it over 1 and down 1, right? So I want to use my rule for translation. So I just want you to see that when you're doing these, depending, they did it the same way I did. If you would have started the other way, if you would have started on this one, you would have told me maybe to make it larger by doing a scale factor 2. Then you would have said rotate it counterclockwise and then do that slide. So I just want you to be aware that the answer's in the back. It depends which one you start with, okay? So, in your homework looks like this. And as you are looking at this, it says, for each one, describe the composition of transformations D, E, F. That means this is your first one, right? To L, M, N, this is your last one. Now, most of them are usually 1 or 2 steps, right? You're probably going to do a size change to start with, and then probably a reflect or a rotate or something else, okay? They are telling you the one to start with. This is your first figure. This is your first figure. So this one definitely got bigger, right? K equal the number bigger than 1, like 2. Here you're getting smaller. K is probably like a half. You still have one more thing. So you're going to tell me the first step maybe is that you dilate, and then you got to go to the next step, okay? The quiz today, I'm going to ask you, it's just like your homework. I'm going to ask you if they're congruent, and then to give me the steps from the first one to the last one. So it's exactly like the homework that you did. You are going to be finishing 14, and I know this is a busy time of year for many of you. I already got the notice that track on Thursday leaves in the afternoon at 1:50, and baseball in the morning misses periods 1 to 5, and I'm sure if I have golfers, those people have stuff. So I know you all have stuff going on and you're busy, and even if you're not in athletics, you've got music stuff or whatever you have. You need to make sure you're coming in the morning and getting help if you need. 8 o'clock, advisory if you don't have music. Making sure that you are understanding. I'm usually here after school for at least 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes a little longer depending. But with spring activities, looking at that. So if you have 13, 12, if you have any other ones that you think Mr. Lehman needs, like from way back when, he is off interviewing today and he's gone tomorrow morning also interviewing for a job. But Friday's his last day, and Wednesday is his last day of actually changing anything in the grade book. So if you have other stuff, keep your eyes on your own paper. You're going to do this little quiz. Hand those back. Oh, that one? Yep. So, on the quiz, first thing I ask you is, are the triangles congruent? If you do say yes, you need to tell me which triangle that you got to tell me the points. So, are the 2 triangles congruent? Yes or no? Then you're going to tell me triangle, tell me the 3 letters. Congruent, so I know that you're matching up. When you go to tell me how you're doing it, okay, you wanna start, I want everyone to use this as your figure one. I want you to start here, and if you say, I'm gonna reflect, I'm gonna rotate, I'm gonna translate first, however you wanna do it, make sure, because there is more than one way of doing this. I have some people doing one thing first and then doing another, and vice versa, okay? Think of which sides have to match up as you look at your picture, okay? Any other questions?